The night sea was silent. November 1941. The Atlantic stretched endlessly beneath a black starless sky. Above the surface, slow convoys of British ships pushed eastward, each vessel heavy with food fuel and weapons, the lifeblood of Britain's survival. Beneath the waves, a shadow moved quietly through the cold. Inside the narrow steel hull of a German U-boat, 45 men whispered under red lights, sweat glistening on their faces. The air smelled of diesel and metal. The captain's calm voice broke the silence. Target bearing 220, distance 900 meters ready, tubes 1 and 2. 2 torpedoes launched into the darkness. Seconds later, thunder tore the night apart. A British freighter erupted in fire. Inside the submarine, the crew cheered softly, but their captain did not smile. For him, this was not victory, this was routine. The rhythm of war beneath the waves. The Battle of the Atlantic had begun when World War II erupted in September 1939. Britain lived and breathed through its sea lanes. Every week, millions of tons of supplies had to cross the Atlantic from America and Canada. If those shipments stopped, the island would starve. Adolf Hitler knew it. He ordered his navy, the Kriegsmarine, to choke that lifeline and bring Britain to its knees. At first, Germany had only 57 submarines, too few to close an ocean, but each one was a weapon of silence, small, fast, and deadly. Their commander, Admiral Karl Donitz, believed victory would come not from battleships, but from packs of submarines hunting together. He called his idea Rudeltaktik, wolfpack tactics, from bases in occupied France. Lorient, Brest, and Saint-Nazaire. U-boats surged into the Atlantic. Each carried 14 torpedoes, food for 2 months, and a crew of young men, most barely 20 years old. They called themselves the Grey Wolves. Life inside a U-boat was a test of endurance. The air was thick, the bunks were shared, and water was rationed. They slept beside torpedoes and ate cold bread. When submerged, every sound mattered. One dropped wrench could mean death. Depth charges thundered above like distant gods. The steel hull bent and screamed under pressure. Some men prayed, others went silent forever. In 1940, as France fell, Germany gained perfect access to the Atlantic and the U-boat war exploded. Allied convoys burned on the horizon. Ships vanished one after another. The newspapers in Berlin called it the Happy Time Captains. Like Gunther Prien, who sank the British battleship Royal Oak inside Scapa Flow, became national heroes. Otto Kretschmer destroyed 7 ships in 3 days. By mid-1941, over 1,200 vessels lay at the bottom of the sea. Prime Minister Winston Churchill later wrote, "The only thing that ever truly frightened me during the war was the U-boat peril. But technology began to turn the tide. Allied scientists built new radar that could spot periscopes at night and sonar. ASDIC could track submarines under the waterships, learned to drop patterns of depth charges instead of random blasts blanketing entire areas with explosions." Meanwhile, inside a quiet mansion in England called Bletchley Park, mathematician Alan Turing and his team cracked the German Enigma code. For the first time, Allied commanders could read U-boat messages and steer convoys around the wolves waiting in the dark. Then came 1942, the second happy time after America entered the war. U-boats hunted off the US coast. The cities glowed with lights, perfect silhouettes for attack. German captains called it Operation Drumbeat. In just 6 months, they sank more than 600 ships. Oil slicks washed onto American beaches. Survivors floated in lifeboats within sight of skyscrapers. For a moment it seemed Germany had won the Atlantic. But this time the Allies were ready to fight back harder than ever. Escort carriers brought aircraft to protect convoys. Long-range B-24. Liberator bombers closed the air gap where U-boats once hid. Searchlights known as Lee lights exposed submarines on the surface at night. Now the hunters became the hunted. In March 1943, Donitz launched his greatest attack, Wolfpack Rubgraf 40 submarines against Convoy HX 229. But Allied escorts, guided by radar and code-breaking, fought back fiercely. Within weeks, Germany lost 41 U-boats. Donitz called that month Black May. The U-boat fleet was broken. Of 40,000 men who served under the waves, 28,000 never returned. a 70% death rate, the highest of any military branch. Each sinking meant a grave without a stone. Yet survivors wrote letters filled with pride. "We sail again tomorrow," one man wrote. "The sea feels endless. If I do not return, remember me as one who served beneath the waves." Germany tried to recover. Engineers designed the Type 21 Electroboot, capable of staying submerged for days, but it came too late. Snorkel systems and acoustic torpedoes appeared, but Allied scientists countered every new weapon. Continuous air patrols, hunter-killer groups, and sonar-equipped corvettes closed the ocean. By 1944, the once mighty wolfpacks were gone. Only a handful of submarines remained when Germany surrendered in May 1945. The Battle of the Atlantic had lasted 2,075 days longer than any other campaign of the war. It decided whether Britain would survive and whether the Allies could one day invade Europe. It changed naval warfare forever. Submarines became the heart of every modern navy. Radar, sonar, and code-breaking became the science of war. And the courage of those who fought beneath the sea became legend. When Admiral Donitz surrendered, he told his remaining crews, "You have fought with honor. History will judge the submariner not by victory, but by endurance." Today, rusting U-boats still lie across the ocean floor, silent tombs of steel. Divers describe eerie stillness inside cups, still on tables, logbooks frozen in time, the last breath of men who never surfaced. The Battle of the Atlantic was not just a struggle between nations. It was a contest between man and nature, between courage and terror, silence and survival. When you stand by the sea and hear the waves crash, imagine the unseen graves beneath, the silent hunters who once prowled these waters and vanished into the deep.